Hey there, folks. I'm Joe Crawford of artlearn.com. Pretty much every day I go to CSSBattle.dev. I'm going to click it now. and they have the daily target up, and I do it and try to get 100% match. And I'm recording myself doing it right now. Let's do that now. Oh, maybe a loading problem. Let's hit refresh. Why not? Ahoy, hoy, ho, ho, ho. I like it. Well, that's a fun one. That is a fun one. Okay. How do we do that? And how many elements do we need to make? I find myself wanting to see if I can put that as a border on the HTML element. I'm not sure I can. If I do, so one way to do a shape like this is to do a border. So do border a solid 40 pixels, let's say, right? Remove the margins. So there's that border. So I'm using the nested template, which is HTML and body elements, and probably that's a bad idea in this case. So if I remove that, what do we got? So that appears to be working. Okay, so in this case, what that's doing is setting a border on top and bottom. So what I would like to do, border solid, and then do border width. And I'm going to do 3 different numbers, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So what I want, so if I do 2, 40, there we go, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 80, 90, 100, 110. Okay. So why am I doing that? So now I'll show you border color, and I'm going to set what? Font. And I think that's what I want. So 3 colors. And I believe I've done that. Now, it's a problem. The problem that we have, putting it on the element that we put it on, which is the body element in this case, is that now we can't quite get there. So we need more numbers, I think. So that 100, so if I do what? Is that the same? So then that is shearing 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 110, okay, and then 120, 100. Okay. So I think I've got what I want there. All right. So by creating these borders and then setting the colors as I have, so if I add another color, red, you'll see what's kind of going on there. So each of the 4 borders gives a particular color. Now that angle is determined by how the widths intersect with each other. So we're completely content with that. I think that's going to submit well. So then it's about what do I do with the rest of it? So now I need a background. So I'll start with a radial gradient and see if we can get it right away with just doing a circle. 1Q, this color, 20 pixels, and transparent. Okay. And then if I move that down, 0, 10 pixels, 15. So that aligns well. And I think the next thing I want to do then is a conic gradient and then a background color. So let's do that. Conic gradient. And I'm going to do false colors just so I can really see what I'm doing. So I'll do red, yellow, green. And where I want that to be, I'll start with a background position like that, and I'm going to set it to 50 pixels, and then set no repeat. So that's what I've got. what I want it to be is to fit here. So I'm also going to need to set a center of it, but first I want to place it. So move it down 50 pixels, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then set a width. How about 100? How about 120? How about 110? Great. The height is 50. Do I need to set the height? I don't think I need to set the height. I'm going to avoid setting the height. That might be a mistake. I'll set the center at, and I'll just start with wrong numbers, 10 by 10. So okay. So first color is going to be 25%. So these are the color stops. And then the next is 0, 75%, or 90 degrees, and then 270 degrees, and then the rest of it. So now let's move this over. How about 100 over? And then down 40. And so 100 is too far over. 30, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay, I think I've got what I want there. And now I'm going to let that repeat on the x-axis. So that gives me what I want. And then if I add this backup color, then I'm where I want to be. So now I put this brownie color, rust, I don't know what that color is, where the red is. And the yellow is this dark blue. And then the green is the light blue. Or in this case, I can do transparent because I have this backup color. If I remove this, then I'm not filled in all of it, right? And that's no good. That's not what I want. Yeah. Okay. Great. Let's submit and see if we're right. Or rather, I'm right. And again, there's lots of ways to do this. You could do this with clip paths. You could do a bunch of different ways. So let's minify and unit replace. And this is one possible solution of many ways that you could potentially solve this. I'm partial to using borders in this way. It's enjoyable sometimes, and I think I've got other videos where I use border solutions like that, but it's usually a little trickier to get the numbers right. I think I'm getting better at that. I don't do it frequently, but I do enjoy it. So unit replace is a plugin. The GitHub plugins are always linked. Sometimes it's destructive, like the plugins are not fully tested, but there's undo is available. So this is one way to solve that. For fun, let's do it with some paragraph elements. Let's see what we need to do. What if we do this in a slightly different way? What if we do 2 paragraph elements and a conic gradient? So to start, let's remove the background from the paragraph elements. We're going to make 2 of them. 1, 2. And the first part we're going to go back to front. The first part is going to be this conic gradient. So conic gradient, which is going to be this dark blue, 75% around, so 270 degrees, 0. So then we move it into place 80 pixels over. How about 100? How about 110? And then down 50 pixels. How about 60, 70? So that's what conic gradient of these colors does. So if I do no repeat, you can see what that is a little bit better. Again, the size of that is 400 by 300, which is the playing field, right? Our HTML element or HR body element. But we're using that repeat in a very specific way. Now we want to move the center. So at 160 pixels, 80 pixels. That's a guess. That's wrong, and it's wrong. How about 180 wide? Yeah, and then how about 120 tall. And that's right as well. Okay, so now we get to our first element. First element will be, and just to be, I'm going to put B and C. So rather, I don't think that these two elements are going to share anything in particular. So rather than bother, I'm going to set background. Rather than bother to define a paragraph element, I'm just going to create two selectors for attribute selectors. So I'm using the B attribute and C attribute. Not really technically legal HTML, but HTML is a lot more forgiving of how to do that these days. So okay, let's get to it. Margins on the top 6, 7, 1, 30, and then the height of that is 40, 50, 60. Great. Margins on the sides 170, 172. Great. So then I need a border radius, and I'll do 1 inch, 1 inch, 0, 0. And I think that will do it. Yes, that will do that. You could also do pixel values. In this case, there is an algorithm that sort of determines how much of a curve you get, and beyond a certain point, you don't get more because those two curves, the two border radii, have to be nice to each other. I think this is how I think of it. It's not science. Anyway, so that's what's going on there. The next thing. So anyway, that's done. Let's do the next part now, which is the C element. And for that, I need a background of, and I need a height. How about 100? Now, the clip path will come next. But in this case, I want some margins. Margin -8, -100, -200. Oh, -200. Okay, so how about -170? So 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. There we go. That looks pretty good. One thing that I could do, which would be a lot more verbose, would be to use some of the 3D transform technologies. The 3D transform, to my knowledge, I don't believe I've used for any puzzles here. It tends to be pretty verbose. I have used skew, which is a nice way to twist things, but in this case, this would be perspective of, you're flattening a thing, and that's just not going to work very well. But a clip path with 4 points will work well. So I've got that margin of 120 now. What's interesting is I am not actually sure in this case whether I need a second margin value. So if I do, I might need that. So I'm going to do what? 100 pixels, 0. No. Yeah. 100 pixels, 0. 200 pixels, 0. 100%, 100%, 0, 100%. That clip path is not applying because I got something wrong. Oh, actually, it's actually 0. No, 100 pixels 0 is correct. 200 pixels 0 that's what I intend. And then so that's the clip path, but it's not working. Why? My clip path is, because I have the wrong word. It should be polygon. All right, there. That's what I meant. Silly. Okay, so this is at 300, 280. That looks right. Okay, a little taller. 100. Great. So not too bad. How about 110 pixels over? And then this will be 270 pixels over, 290 pixels over. Okay, so that's another way to do this. And indeed, we don't have margins in common. We don't have heights in common. We don't have a background in common, and we don't need a border radius. So this was I am content with how this works. Let's see how that goes. Curious to see if I got to 100% with this, and I did, which is nice. But it is a little more verbose because they don't share enough code, right? These the way I've done them, they don't share enough code, which is that's fine. Minify, unit replace, lop off a few characters that we don't need. I believe I can make this an ampersand instead and then submit. I don't think that's going to be a better score than what I got up top. Yeah, it's not better score-wise, but another way to do it. So that's 2 paragraph elements that don't actually share any code other than default code. This could be tuned more as well. All right, that's enough. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Go make a webpage. I'll see you around. Bye.